And good morning,
Good morning.
good
Good
afternoon,
morning.
Good morning.
and
Good
good
morning.
afternoon,
Good
Good
morning.
Good
morning.
afternoon.
Good afternoon.
and happy New Year.
Happy New Happy New Year.
All right, well, welcome. Glad to see all of you. This is actually my first Zoom experience, online experience of the new year, so it better be good. Oh, Richard, how you doing, Richard? Nice to see you again. It's great seeing people that I saw several months ago when I went to, or a few months ago when I went to Florida. So I have what I like to do today is I'm going to do, I'm just going to I kind of pick several of my favorite features, and I'm going to kind of breeze through them. And what I wanted to also do is I looked back, and it's been a while since we actually had a product feature class. So what I want to do is start getting those classes going again. And so I thought it'd be a good idea because in the last several months we've acquired a lot of folks that have gotten into touchscreen models, A series, EX series, and what have you. And I want to kind of highlight some of my favorite features. Now, these highlights is just a very small list of what some of these models can do, as you know. But anyway, we'll start off with a little song. I was using it as a sound test, but I think I'll try to play at least part of it. It's a song from the Eagles called "Take It Easy." So if you're ever having a bad day or something not going right, or sometimes we're on these instruments are electronics, so sometimes you're doing something's not going right, just remember, take it easy. Playing music's supposed to be fun. So we'll do a little bit of that, and I want to use one of my little favorite features on here. Actually, I have a lot of favorite features, so let's see what happens. 3, 2, 1. Stop it. Well, okay, I had a couple oops in there, but it's been a while. So anyway, that was the song "Take It Easy." The rhythm style used was called "Take It Easy." But more importantly, or just as importantly, I used the fake it feature on that. So for those of you who have that style, if you have this music, it'll actually tell you to turn on the fake it, okay, on the bottom page. And then if you just play the chords, it'll actually do the guitar parts just like the Eagles did when they did it. But let's do basics. Let's assume you just got into a Lowrey like this, or a Prestige, or a Sterling, or Symphony, Rialto Inspired, or Ario, any of those, any model of the touchscreen, and you're getting more rhythms. So there are multiple ways of finding rhythm styles you know, it's interesting. What I've noticed over the last couple of months is I've done a lot of instruction individually, what have you. And when I have someone go from one organ to the other, one platform to the other, one platform meaning if someone goes from a Patriot or Liberty, Sterling, an instrument of that nature, and they go into an E series, what's happened is when the technology came out, the rhythm styles were still on the left. However, because they added so many new styles, they had to change some of the wording on this. And so people like me, actually, when you're so used to using Franken the Count, you know where to go, or you know where Unforgotten is, or any of those styles, it kind of gets a little bit tricky trying to search for them. So I'm going to just very quickly go through a few different ways of finding rhythm styles. And if you know all of these ways, great, it's a good review. And if you pick up on one thing, that's fine. So the obvious way that most people do is they turn on the organ and they go to the left side and you pick a button and then you have all your styles that show up on the screen. Now for you SU owners out there, might be a few of you, a lot of the SU models, when you put on the rhythm style, you still have a variation 1 and a 2 button to push and it shows up on the window. And if you push the 2 together, it'll show the rest of the styles. On the A series, as the A series progressed, in other words, Prestige, Sterling, Patriot, what happened was you pick one rhythm, all the styles show up once you press the variation. And then once you got into the Sterling, your Patriot owners, your Liberty, Symphony, when you pick a rhythm style, and the EX, all of the rhythms show up on the screen. Now I know some of you probably know this, but if you don't, because you'd be surprised, every now and then I have a student, they're in awe of what I'm about to show them. And I sometimes ask myself, oh my goodness, that's been around for a while. And most of you may know this, but if you don't, this is very important. So as you know, these buttons, like right now, it has a page of rhythm styles just by pressing standards. Well, there's a button right below that says next page. Now, is that simple? You already know that? Sure. But you'd be surprised how some people, they put on one button, they see the list of styles that show up, and they think that's all they get. So you can go to the next page, and there's 2 per button. Now, when you get to the last one here, on a lot of the A series, there's the, let me think, hold on. On the A series, like the Sterling, Patriot, Symphony, my computer thinks I'm talking to her, called Siri. My computer's talking to me, hold on. Let me shut her off.
Okay, I won't.
I don't know if you could hear that, but anytime I say the word A series, it thinks I'm saying, hey, Siri, and I hope it doesn't do it. Okay. So I might be telling my computer to shut up from time to time. All right, so on the Sterling, for example, there's a button that's called Pianist and Guitarist. On the Liberty, I think they had one that was labeled More. On a lot of the E series, it's called Mix. Now, what you have to know is on that last button, there's usually more than one group of rhythm styles. So you push Mix, and there's your next page. There's another page, group 3, Mix 4, and there's 4 groups in that case. All right? Now, for some of you who have this More button, there's another group of there, but there's several pages. So this is like for the marquee, grand marquee owners, what have you. If you push the More, you get More 1, which is a page of styles, More 2, which is a page of styles, More 3, which is a page of styles, More 4, and then you have More 5 and 6. And then on the grand marquee, they added 7 and then 8. And of course on the aria, there's one up here that I forget what it's labeled, but it has all of the new styles that the aria had as well. Okay? So there's just a quick recap on how to select some of the styles, but I want to go over a couple other things for you. So, A technology, if you look at
Robert,
yes.
excuse me, where are you finding more?
right here,
on the grand marquee.
right here in the group of styles, there's a button that says more.
Okay.
Right next
All
to
right,
the
yep.
right next to the
Yep,
traditional
yep.
button. Okay, and then on the aria, right above the more, this one has favorites, which they relocated. And on the aria, they renamed that button. I can't remember. I just know, oh, top hits. And those are all the new styles, okay? And then they moved the favorites button over here. So you have the favorites, depending on the model you have. It just depends on the location, okay? Now, let me go back to the A technology, because there's a lot of students, before they got into an instrument like this, that had a Prestige. I know some of you might have had a Prestige once, right? Sterling, Patriot, Symphony, Liberty, okay, Imperial, all great models. That panel was mostly by genres. So they had a big band button, foxtrot, soft and easy, ballad. I'm not going to name them all, but you'll get the gist here. Latin, Latin 1, Latin 2, two country buttons, waltz, etc., etc. So it was by genres, which was a great way to put all your rhythm styles. But what happened is Lowrey introduced new models. They kept adding new rhythm styles, and they were putting them in those same places. So for example, I always refer to the style called Slumdoggy, which is kind of it's a style that represents the music from the movie Slumdog Millionaire, which takes place in India. That style of music, and they put it under a polka march, and I always question, does that kind of fit that? Well, it was the only place they could put it. So when the new platform came out, they had to change some of the wording on there, and it allowed them to add all these new styles, okay? However, some of the models still have the way to select those genres, okay? So for example, on the marquee, if you touch your Style Suites button, you'll get a page of styles in there grouped in genres, okay? And if you go to the next page, decades and certain other styles of music. So on the Grand Marquis, they actually put this button here called Classic Style. So if you have, for those of you who have the Grand Marquis and the Aria, or Grand Marquis Extreme, RE22, etc., there's a button in the left corner that says Classic Styles. And all that means is it gives me the panel that the A technology instruments had, okay? The reason for that, I think what Lowrey did was, those are great styles, and you all have them in there. They just get harder to find if they change things. So some of our students, even me, there was like a few styles that I always went to, and I had to scroll around and look around and push buttons. And I knew where they were on here. So if you just touch the Classic Styles button, you'll see that page of styles that actually what the A technology is. Now here's the cool thing. If I, for example, Unforgotten I mentioned, I know where it's at on the A technology. Why? Because I've used it so many times. I know. Go to the pop button, and it's in that group. Well, over here, I don't remember where it's at. So if I want, I just touch pop R&B, and it's listed in the group of styles. I touch on Forgotten, and it actually shows me where it's at now. Okay, and it says smooth in the smooth category. So point of this is there are multiple ways of getting to all your rhythms. The Prestige has 212 rhythm styles on it, as an example. Even the Stardust has 168 plus 24, 192 I want to say. That's a lot of rhythm styles. Well, when you get into Grand Marquis, as an example, there's over 350 styles on there. Now I know what everybody's thinking, I'll never use all of them. We never will use all of them, but if you have more ways of getting to all of them, you'll use more. And you'll find some that you'll select and you'll go, it's not my favorite. That's okay. So I just want to give you multiple ways of finding your styles. And then, of course, going to the more, you just go to the more category. You have 6 or 8 pages worth. So some of my favorites on these groups are like, I go to the Marquis, for example. I love the Swaying Latin, which is Michael Bublé's arrangement of the song Sway. So anyway, there was just a little snippet of that. So knowing how to find styles on your instrument, and then what will happen is you will use the way that you feel comfortable with. So this is the common way. Push a button, scroll through. That's way number 1. Number 2 that I didn't mention is if you go into your screen and you type in all styles or use the style list button on some of the models, it'll give you a list of every single rhythm the organ has alphabetically. Okay? It starts in the A's, and if you go backwards, all the styles that start with a number, if you go down, so like 9 to 5, 8 beat standard, 60s shindig, 70s, all of those styles that start with a number. 50s guitar rock, 50s love ballad. Just keep that in mind alphabetically. It starts A, B, C. If you go one direction, if you go the other, you'll get into the styles that are numbered. Okay? If you have the Marquis or Grand Marquis, you have a style suites, and you have an option to find the styles by genres. And if you have the Grand Marquis, there's this classic styles button that does that. Okay? And then you'll see some other categories here, like I'm looking at, it says combos, vocals, styles that have a lot of vocals in it. And every time you touch one, it'll show you where it's at. And then, of course, last but not least, I referred to it earlier, there's a button that a lot of the instruments have called favorites. It's simply, in several of the models, it's right here on the left side. Okay, on the aria rather, there's a button down at the bottom that says favorites. Okay, because they replaced the favorites with all the new styles. And when you touch your favorites, a list of styles come up. Now, right now, I have 10 on this model, and it's real easy to do. You just touch, and you scroll to the style that you want to be in your favorites. How do you assign it? You just stop and you leave it there. So right now it says basic gospel is on the first one. Let's say I don't want that. So I'm just going to scroll until I find one that I like. Well, I like a lot of them, but let's just find, this is nice. Blackbird Flies. So now Blackbird Flies is always in my favorites. Okay? Now, this is good just to make a note to self, a lot of times, let's face it, these instruments are electronics. I have right now, my phone is my camera. It's an almost $2,000 phone, that little thing. And every now and then, I know some of you, maybe this doesn't happen to you, with nowadays a lot of our smartphones, they're touch screen and what have you. I don't know if this happened to you. Sometimes I'll go and I'll pick one of the apps, like I'm on a text or a phone or something, and I go touching it, and nothing is happening. Ever happened? I know I'm doing it. Sometimes it just doesn't do anything. You know what I have to do? I turn it off, turn it back on, and then recycle it, and then it starts working again. It's electronics. I always say they're man-made products. So sometimes we have to do little resets and turning off and do things like that. Well, what does that have to do with the favorites? If you have, this organ has 10, some organs have 8, and I think the aria has 18, I want to say. If you have your favorite styles on there, and you do a total reset on the organ, 5-finger reset or the one through the screen, these favorites do not go back to the factory. There's 2 ways to change them. The first way is the easiest. You just touch it and you say, okay, I'm done with that. And you just go to the next one. And whatever you see is what you get, okay? That's the only way you change it. The other way is when you go to the reset in the screen, there's a specific reset. I'm going to go to reset here. And it says, I have 4 options on my reset. Total reset, reset A to E. That's a common one. Reset my picks, which I won't go into today, but my picks are the extra sounds that you can assign. You know, there's a my picks category. You could have your own clarinet or saxophone, whatever ones you want readily available. And there's one that says reset favorites. And when you do reset favorites, it'll ask you again and confirm it. And when I do that, the organ didn't turn off or anything, but it just reset the favorites. And if I go back to the favorites, it's going to now default to whatever the factory has it. That's the only way you can change the favorites, by actually changing it and leaving it, or doing your reset of the favorites. A total reset will not do that. So now
Robert?
Yes.
That's not correct on the aria. If you do a 5-finger reset, it will wipe out the favorites.
Uh-oh, let's see. Let me turn Witch Doctor into Wabash Brass. Let me see here. What volume on? Because I did a reset the other day through the screen, the total reset, and for some reason, everything stayed. Now let's see if it does it on the 5, and I might stand corrected. I'll have to cut this recording out. I don't want to look bad on recording. No, it's okay. No, it's actually, mine still says Wabash Brass. So maybe that's a feature on the aria.
I wish it wasn't a feature, but
I have what did I have before? I don't know. Wabash Brass. So I just did a 5-finger reset and it did not change it. Let me go to reset. Reset favorites, reset favorites. Now let me go. Yeah, so it's Witch Doctor. So maybe it's model to model. I don't know. Try it out before you do that. Try it on your instrument and see if it does it. And the way to test it is just pick one of the rhythms, change it, we'll see what it's there, and then do a total reset on the instrument, and then see if it goes back to the original or if it doesn't. Okay? Now I'm on the page here with my favorites. As I was looking at this, I thought that'd be a fun one to play while I'm here. Okay, well, let's have a little fun here. Actually, I think I'll use some music for this. 9 to 5. I love this style. Now, some of you know the story, but the song 9 to 5, written by Dolly Parton, when she was asked to write that song for the movie, originally I heard she didn't want to do the movie. And long story short, she ended up doing it and wrote the song. And I heard her do a little, on our Apple Fitness watch, they have a thing called Time to Walk, where you can go exercise, and they have all these famous people that they record walking, and you hear these stories about themselves from their career, their personal lives. Well, Dolly Parton was one of them. And in that, I was walking, listened to it, and I was power walking and doing my thing. She was talking about the song when she recorded it with her nails, that beginning part. And she said, this is what she said on this thing that I listened to. She said, if you look at the credits for the song, it's music by, and it says Nails by Dolly Parton. So she actually has copyrights to that. So, well, Bill Curry, he didn't have any nail sound effects in the organ. So when he used the 9-to-5 style, in the beginning he uses it sounds like a percussion sound of one of the drums, like a rim shot or something like that, or click click. So you'll hear that, and I think he was just trying to emulate the exact thing. So here we go. You hear it? It's like a drumstick, I think. I don't know what he did, but it sounds like nails. Okay. What I like about this style too is if you like country music, it's a great style. You can do a lot of the Southern Nights, works great with that. That's fun, yeah. Anyway. Now, here's a feature that I'm going to say almost everybody uses. And it's good to use. Sometimes I use it. Sometimes I purposely don't want to use it. And sometimes students use it when it comes on, because if you're using the presets of the instrument, it'll turn it on automatically for you. And it's a real simple feature. It's been around for years, and it's called harmony. Now, harmony, I can do an entire class on harmony and still have hours left to go. But the gist of harmony, think about harmony, like, to me it's like giving a student 20, 30 years of experience in a button. You push it, because if you think about harmonies, you know, there's a duet harmony, there's an AOC, which is a 3-part, and then there's a country rock, there's 4-part, 5-part. What I try to remind students is that harmonies do what most, even professionals, physically can't do. Because you think about a 5-part harmony, it's exactly that. It's 5 notes played with every melody note. So you imagine if you were playing a song, even a simple song that didn't move around a lot, you'd have to play every single melody note with 4 other notes at the exact same time with the right harmonies, the right notes, every single note. Just saying that sounds exhausting, and wow, that's hard to do. So if you have harmonies, I know a lot of times, if you're like me, I use them as they come up, because when a preset comes up with a harmony, there's a reason why Bill programmed it that way, that sound works great for the harmony. But if you ever want to experiment, there's a couple things I like to keep in mind. First of all, almost every Lowrey, let me start over. Every Lowrey organ that I encouraged to come to today's class has at least 12 harmonies, or actually 8. There's a couple models that have 8 or 9. But most of the models that I listed in the invitation of the email have all 15 harmony choices. 15 harmonies. And as you progress through the line, And they're all for the upper keyboard. As you progress to the line, at some point, Lowrey gave, as many of you know, the option to have harmonies on the lower right keyboard as well. Okay? Now I say that because some people have harmonies on top, some don't. But just keep in mind, most of us when we play, we start our melody on the top. So it's kind of important. And if you have harmonies on the top and the bottom, you have the exact same amount of harmony selections. Now, you could be like I do, just use it when they come up, or sometimes I just reach over and turn it on. So, a couple of the harmony choices that I really like. I love my 4-part harmonies. I love my 5-part harmonies. I use them a lot with strings. You have to be a little careful when you use sounds like pianos and vibraphones and what have you. Those types of harmonies, they're a striking type of a sound. Even though piano is not considered a percussion, some people say it is because it's struck. It's a string instrument as well because a piano is a string, but the hammer strikes. Any sound that has a percussion sound with harmony, you have to be careful with because it could sound, for lack of better words, clunky. But if you use what they give you on the instrument, if you just use them, they're great. But let's just say I want to put on, I always start with something like strings. You know, if you just turn on the organ and push preset number 4, you get these beautiful strings. So if you turn on the easy button and you want to play, so right now that's just a easy chord on the bottom, 3-finger chord, 1 finger, however you want to play it, and then no harmonies on the top. So I'm going to push my harmony button, and right now it says octave duet, 4-part. You just choose one. Now, keep in mind that as the harmonies are programmed automatically in some of the presets, most of the time we play it a little bit more on the right side of the instrument, okay? Or on the upper, towards the last 2 octaves. Now, some of you have the cascade feature. Now, cascade is really cool because it does just that. As you're holding the note, it'll cascade the notes depending on the harmony you choose. Now, you have 2 ways of doing this. If I turn on a rhythm style or a preset, let me just put on a rhythm here. Let me just put something there. Let's see. Okay. I love this style. It's called orchestral ballad. Sounds like this. Whoops. Let me let the intro finish. It's a beautiful style. I can think of all sorts of songs that can play with it. Now, as I look over, just on the vintage 0, it has a harmony on. And I looked in the screen. Let me just put on the screen. It's a 5-part harmony. So naturally, I'm going to get a nice, full, rich string sound. Okay, that sounds great. Maybe you just want to keep it like that. But at any time you have a harmony, a style that has a preset that has a harmony, just remember at any time if you have the cascade feature, just reach up and touch the cascade button next to it. And now what'll happen is it'll take whatever you have and automatically cascade the notes. on that type of setting, it's a little more subtle because I have the string sound, okay? I don't know if you could hear it there, but as I was doing that, and that song, even though the melody is slow, you have to kind of wait for the key points to where you're playing the note and you hold the note so then the notes cascade down for you. Now, I have a setup that I like to use. When I originally demonstrated this feature, I took a style, trying to remember what it was called. Let's see here. It is called, oh, some of you are familiar. It's called Moonstream. So if you played the song Moon River, see if I can find Moon River. I don't know that one without the song. Let's see. There we go. So I'm just going to play along. Let's see here. Okay. And what happened, what I discovered is on that setting that I had, it had bells, okay, and strings, and it had the cascade with the harmony on it. So if you're playing the notes, now when you're using sounds like bells, piano, vibraphone, and you have a harmony with cascade, the beauty of that is now those sounds don't sound as harsh. Now, listen to the difference. I'm going to turn off the cascade and just play a couple notes. It can be a little harsh depending on the setup you have. That's the harmony with bells. Now I'm going to put on cascade, and as I hold the note, let's see, what harmony do I have on? Just a simple AOC. So if you ever heard me play songs like Silent Night or Silver Bells, sometimes I use this rhythm, Moonstream, and I have bells and strings here with the cascade. When you're not in the season, you can and so forth and so forth. So you could tell, you could really hear those notes cascading.
Robert,
Yes.
why is the cascade going up instead of down in the lower keyboard?
Because that's not just specific to the lower keyboard. It's specific to the harmony. You're
Oh,
going
okay.
to notice some harmonies will cascade down, like the
Most
five
of
part. Well, 5-part cascades down, downwards. A 4-part. You may try other harmonies. The best way to do it is put on a sound, just a basic sound, and then try playing with different harmonies. Now, if I use, let me see if I could do this on this setting here. Let me see what happens. Okay. So I have just the easy button on and the bells with AOC. Now let me put on 4-part harmony. Let me put on 5-part harmony.
Okay.
Okay, let me put on hymn. Let me put on full AOC.
Oh, it's interesting.
So you're going to find that some harmonies aren't just always going down. Now think about it.
Right.
Glad it doesn't, because otherwise, every time I use cascade, they're all going to sound the same, just with less notes.
True.
Think about it. If
That's
it's a
true.
5-part is playing 5 notes, 4 parts playing 4, if they all did the exact same thing, they're going to all sound the same, just especially because some of them, block harmony and 4-part harmony, I believe are also 4 notes, but they may play the notes a little differently. Let's see. Here's 4-part. Okay, here's block. Let's see what happens. It almost, I thought for a second there it was going to do the same, and it changed on me. I was
Got
like,
the extra note.
so they're going to be different depending on the harmony you use.
Oh, okay.
They're great. Cascade is great when you want to use harmony with a sound like a bells and pianos and vibes, where they're a little bit
You
more of
can
a
hear.
harder sound than
Mhm.
say, strings, and it's going to be a little easier on the ears. Because a lot of those sounds, sometimes I've done vibes and what have you, but I have to put it in a certain key. I have to play it in a certain range where it doesn't sound too hard, put the touch feature on so I'm not hitting the notes as hard, et cetera, et cetera. It's just a great way of using that feature. So if you have Cascade, I highly encourage using it. And just take a look when you're using setups. Just look over occasionally. If that preset has a harmony, but the Cascade is not on, just reach up and hit Cascade. It's not going to hurt anything.
Okay.
In fact, you may find yourself
That's
going,
interesting.
hey, I kind of like that. That's what happened in that feature. I think that sound was a preset originally, and I just said, I wonder what happened if I put the Cascade with that harmony, and that's what I got. So I keep it every time.
That was interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Roman,
Yes,
Sterling doesn't have the cascade, does it?
it does not. I'm sorry. But what I would suggest is if you're using harmonies on an instrument that does not have Cascade, I would traditionally stay away from what I call hard sounds. Like I mentioned a few, vibes, piano, bells. I use a lot of sounds like strings. Now, let me back up. Sometimes I'll use a piano or bells as a solo instrument. If you put it in the solo, okay, solo means 1. So if you have a sound in the solo and you put on a harmony, guess what? It's only going to play 1 note no matter what. So here's an example. So sometimes I'll take like the bells, since I'm talking about bells, and I love the bell sounds for certain songs. But I like a little fuller sound. So what I'll do is put bells in the solo, I'll put on a harmony, and I'll put on some organ strings or something like that. And now the strings, here's an example. Oh, my setup went away. Where'd it go? Okay, let's see. Let me put on, let's see. Let me find where I can put on bells. B, alphabetical. Just go to B. All right, so here's some bells as a solo sound. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'll put some strings or choir. Okay, now I'm going to take off the cascade, okay, and hold the note. Okay, now I have a harmony, the choir or whatever. I have choir on and some strings, but I have the choir on. The choir is doing the harmony. The bells is in my solo. And so therefore, no matter, even if I put a 5-part harmony, the bells can't do a harmony if it's a solo instrument. Now, if you set it up that way, for those of you who have the cascade, if you can still do it, turn on your cascade, you'll get the best of both worlds. Okay? So now the choir starts doing the harmony. The bells won't because it's a solo instrument. So depending on how you have the setup, etc.
Thank
So
you.
something to keep in mind. And the other thing to keep in mind is put Cascade on your wish list.
Yes.
Some of the stores have Cascade
Yeah.
buttons. Some of the stores have Cascade buttons hidden in their drawers of their desks.
Really?
Yes, they're so, but they sell them for a lot of money. They sell them for so much money, then they throw in an organ at no
I
charge.
see.
They say, if you buy this Cascade button, I'll give you this organ to go with it. Anyway, just what I really wanted to talk about was two parts. First of all, everybody here on your model has harmonies. I just want to kind of give you some ideas of how to use them more, because remember, they're doing things that even a pro can't physically do on some of those songs. And then two, taking a step further, is your Cascade, for those of you who have that. Another feature that I like to talk about that it's interesting, it's a kind of a neat feature, but I'll ask, every now and then I get a hit and miss on this. I'll have some, do you use this feature? Sometimes. Then I'll have some, oh yeah, I do it all the time. And it's called Virtuoso. All right, now, I know not every model has Virtuoso, but a lot models do. And the Virtuoso, whoops, is a great style, feature, because it's not something I encourage using all the time, certain parts of the song. Now, I could do a whole class on Virtuoso, so I'll just give you the highlight. But essentially, what Virtuoso does is it takes whatever chord you're playing, and it makes sure to play all the appropriate notes based on the chord you're playing. So it's almost foolproof. Now, if you're playing a song and the first chord is a C, all right, and you decide to use the Virtuoso while you're playing the song, and you accidentally hit C sharp, it's going to play all the right notes if it's C sharp, but if you're possibly C, then it won't sound good. So keep that in mind. But it is foolproof that you're never going to hit a bad note if you're playing the chord that you're playing. So earlier I was using this style, what did I say, orchestral ballad. Nice slow rhythm like this. Okay, and I have a typical sound. Now, again, I can do a whole class on this, so I'm going to give you the highlight. And when I post this, you can go back and watch. The Virtuoso, some people know this, some people don't, some people have known it and they forget. The Virtuoso pulls its sound from one of three places. Okay? The first place that it pulls the sound, because it doesn't just show up out of nowhere. It's where is it pulling its source? Okay? Where is this coming from? It's like news reporters. You know, they want to pull what are whistleblowers? You know, they have to make sure, and they're like, and the question is who is their source, right? Well, here, there's a sound that's there. And the sound has to come from somewhere. It comes from one of three places. Now, make notes on this, and if you still have a question afterwards, it's a good question for your personal assistant. The first place that it pulls it from is whatever sound that's programmed in your golden harp. Okay? Now, that does not mean it's always going to be a golden harp. It means it pulls the sound for what's programmed in the golden harp. Now, let me clarify that. So, when you hear me run the finger, it sounds like a harp sound, okay? Now, so on your instrument, you have a golden harp button. And then next to that, there's a button that's called Genius or Sound. If it's an A model, Prestige, Sterling, Patriot, Symphony, Liberty, Imperial. I think I got them all. Okay, it's going to be called Genius. So you have a golden harp, and then there's a genius button. And it's usually over here in this area. On the E platform, and I'm going to say in all of them, but I know on the marquees, grand marquees, your golden harp button is over here, okay? And then there's a button that says sound, all right? So your golden harp, you have, when you press your golden harp, you can change the pattern, but that's not what we're talking about. And next to it, there's either a genius or a sound button. Now, right now, the sound button or the genius button is off. It would be a golden harp sound. Now, I'm going to push the sound button and tell you what I see. It says vibes. So essentially, my golden harp, if I turn it on, you're going to hear a vibraphone sound, right? You hear it? You hear the vibraphone doing the golden harp? All right. I'm going to turn off the golden harp pattern for a second, but I'm going to leave the sound on. So my golden harp sound is now what? Vibes. Okay? That's what it's on. So essentially, if I run my finger on my Virtuoso, it's pulling the sound from what sound is in the golden harp. So when I run my finger now, it should sound like vibes. And it does. Because that's the sound that I have programmed in my golden harp. So again, the Virtuoso pulls from three places. The first place it chooses from is whatever sound is programmed in the golden harp. Right now I have in my golden harp, it says sounds and it says vibes. Now if I turn that off, it goes back to the golden harp sounds. Now listen. Okay? Now if I turn it back on, it says vibes. So when you're playing, okay? So that's one place. The second place it pulls from, if you touch, I think Virtuoso, maybe called just Virtuoso on your model. It may be called Grand Virtuoso, okay, whatever. When you touch it, your screen will show up. Now, if you have one Virtuoso, it'll show up on the screen. If you have the two, you'll have a left and a right. Anything that I'm telling you works the same way on both if you have both, okay? So right now, on my right Virtuoso, it says sound source, and it says golden harp. So it means whatever sound is programmed in the golden harp, that's what you're going to hear when you use that. Now I'm going to touch golden harp, and I'm going to scroll up one. And it says sound source, upper. Now here's what that means. Now, whatever sound is in your upper keyboard at that time, doesn't matter what, saxophone, could be trombone, whatever sound you have there, and if it has a harmony, whatever is programmed in this upper keyboard will now go in that Virtuoso because it says upper in my case. Now, let's see, what do I have in this upper keyboard? I have a beautiful string sound with some harmony, right? 5-part harmony I said earlier. So essentially, because I selected on the screen, the source is from the upper keyboard. So if I'm playing along, even if I have the melody here, okay? Now, for those of you who have the Grand Virtuoso, meaning you have two, everything I'm telling you functionally works the same way. You don't do anything different. The difference is you just go to the left and you decide what you want there, okay? If you want upper on both of them, you can do that. Now, right now, my screen says upper for the right, golden harp for the left. So essentially, I have okay? And then the last place that it pulls from, again, you are in control what you want it to do. If I touch up the sound source again, I'm going to do the right one. It says lower right. So whatever sound is in the lower right, we got a beautiful saxophone with a string combination, it seems. Okay. And so that's what it put in there. So you can choose what sound you want in the golden harp, and you just simply touch the golden grand virtuoso and you pick what you want. Okay? Now, a couple virtuoso tips. This is my preference. But when I'm playing a song and I'm using a virtuoso, so I actually like that sound. I'm going to put in my left one for the sake of this. So I'm going to go upper. Okay? I didn't realize I was going to like it that much until we experimented here. Okay, so right now, this one has the upper and this one has the golden harp. Okay? So whatever's programmed in the golden harp. Vibes, I'm going to put golden harp. Okay? So as I'm playing, I encourage, if you can do it this way, this would be the first ideal way of doing it. When you're playing a song, especially in the song that I'm using, the style I'm using, it's slow. What I see a lot of students do is when they want to use the virtuoso, they take their hand off and they reach up and they do the virtuoso, right?
Yeah.
I have a problem with that because if you're using the right hand. Because if you're playing a song and you take your hand off the keys, you're losing the melody for a moment. Sometimes I say use the left hand. Because when you get to a certain part, you want to hold that melody note. It doesn't disrupt the song. I think when you take it off, it's a good time to hold that melody note and then use your finger. Okay, so that's my encouragement. Now I know it's a little tricky if you have the one, if you're reaching over, but if you can, I would suggest doing that way. For those of you who have the two, maybe decide which sound do you want to use the most. Like in this case, I kind of like having that sound in the virtuoso as we were experimenting. You have both and you're done at the ending, or you can do it in the middle. Do a fill-in and do it both. So I would encourage if you use both like that, maybe put two different sounds on. It's foolproof when you're doing that. Another little trick you can do with the virtuoso, some of you may know this, a lot of us believe this is where the idea of fake it came about. Because if you're playing a song, let me put it on a different rhythm now. You know what? I did that new sway style earlier. It was kind of a neat Latin beat. But I'm going to play a different Latin song. Let's see here. All right, so I have a piano. Got organ. Now let me put on my virtuoso. Right now it says the right one has lower right. Whatever sound is there is going in there. And then the lower left, virtuoso left, is whatever's in the golden harp, which is, okay? So I'll just leave it on that setting. Here's what I'm going to do. I'll play a little bit of the song, and then instead of using the virtuoso like an arpeggio, which I will from time to time, what I'm going to do is just take my finger. I'm going to continue playing the chord of the song, and then just take my finger and occasionally tap on the virtuoso from time to time. Okay? So watch. And I'll kind of tell you as I'm doing it. Let's play first. I'll do the virtuoso like we normally would. I played it once or twice through. I'm going to go back and do a solo, but I'm not that good at it. So let me put on altar style here. All right. Now, I'm going to use the virtuoso, but instead of doing this, I'm going to occasionally play some notes, tap on them here. Almost sound like I was doing that on purpose for the song. But see, by the way, I had the touch feature on the lower keyboard, so that's why it sounded a little soft. I wasn't hitting it hard, so I turned it off. Yeah, I don't know if you could tell, the piano got louder. That's what happened there. But so I was using that to make up notes. The trick with that is whatever song you're playing, play the chords in time as best you can, and then just kind of phrase the notes. And that's, we believe, that's where the fake it feature originally came about. They didn't call it fake it. I don't think they intended it that way. But then eventually the fake it feature came out. Now, speaking of fake it, to me it's one of those great features that a lot of people fall in love with, and then over time they gradually fall out of love with it. So I'm just going to give a couple little tips on the fake it. Phrasing, some people use the word syncopation. It depends on the style. I say try styles that you tend to, like the one I just did. Okay, let me put that on. Styles that you can kind of feel and tap to. Big band styles are great, some Latin styles. That maybe you can, if you had think of it like this. Think if you had like a percussion instrument. You didn't have to worry about hitting the right note, and you could just tap it a couple times and just kind of tap along with the beat as comfortable as possible, okay? To me, that's how you would use fake it, okay? And the other trick is try not to play the notes of the song, because when you're using the fake it button, it's not about hitting the right notes, it's about how you're tapping the notes. So in this case, same thing. I'm going to turn on the fake it. Okay, and here we go. I'm hitting the same note over and over. It doesn't matter. Okay, now I know some of you, what you have, you're going, that's too much work for me. I just do it the other way, right? I can see the faces. But you know what? Even if you have the auto fake it, which I'll show you, I think it's sometimes fun to kind of tap it out because it's actually good for your timing. It helps you out a little bit. So every now and then I'll actually, even though like this, I have the auto fake it, every now and then I'll actually turn it on and do it myself. Because then I can kind of create my own, just for fun. Now, for those of you who have the marquee, I want to say Inspire, Rialto, I think the Liberty, you have to hold it. You can tell, you'll just go on your instrument, put on the fake it, and hit 2 black notes. If it continues on, then you have the auto fake it plus feature. Okay, so in that case, do you have a question, somebody? Okay, so essentially what it was doing, it's a programmed fake it by Bill on every style that does it automatically. So that's kind of fun too, but every now and then I like to go back and forth on that feature, okay? And for those of you who have the Grand Marquis and higher, if you're not using it this way, you're missing out on an amazing feature. And here's the best way I like to explain it. Some of you, show of hands, know the name Marco Mendez, or seen or heard Marco Mendez? You know, he's all right, right? Really good. Dennis Awe, our own staff, Joe Fontesha, Jerome. We have some great players here. In fact, Jerome does this to me all the time here. So a lot of times I'll be playing a song like I'm doing, like that one, and what he'll do is as I'm playing the song, he'll come over there and he'll start doing fake it notes, but he's doing the notes. He knows the key of the song. So I'll play the song and he'll go and he'll just start ad-libbing over there or improvising because he knows that. He's skilled enough to do that. He's a trained musician and you can do that. I've had it where I was playing, we had Marco here was doing a show and he got on the next organ and he was doing all that. And I didn't have to do anything other than continue playing. And I let Marco figure out all the other notes and the syncopation and getting the notes timed right. And he was just doing it. And he should be able to do it, right? Well, for you Grand Marquis owners, you have, and ARIA owners, and Extreme, and RA22, and what is it now, Star Enhancement. You have the option of programming that fake it on the upper keyboard or the lower keyboard, or both, which means you can't do what I'm going to show you, but you would choose one or the other. So I'm going to just leave that on as an example. I have the fake it down here, and I'll make sure it's not on the top. So on the top keyboard, I have to play. Okay? So as I'm playing the song, I'm just going to activate the feature, and then I'm going to continue playing the song as I normally would. Let somebody in. Okay. All right. So let me start over. I'll play this, what I was just doing. Okay, I'm going to put on altar style for the fun of it. Okay, and I'm going to activate the feature down here. Okay, now, so you heard it going there, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to activate it, but now I'm going to continue playing the melody. So pretty cool. So you can play, continue playing your song, activate it. Yeah, another one I like to do it with, I like a style like this where it's a light swing gypsy, they call it. And let's see. Let's put on. Okay, we'll start with that. And then maybe I'll put on the fake it, put it on the upper keyboard. And then continue playing the melody in the bottom. Thank you, all the applause. That, by the way, the style used is called light swing gypsy. That's a really fun style. On this light category, I'll play one more for you. I love this. I'm going to use the fake it on this one as well. But I want to use, let's see. Oh, here we go. You can do a fun, all right. Now it says I have a guitar in the bottom, so I'll put the fake it down there.
Robert,
Thank you. Hold on, they want applause from me.
Robert,
Yes.
you're programming the fake it through the window?
Well, it depends on the model. It depends on your model. So some of you have an instrument where the fake it's just there. When you touch it, it's on. Some of you have it, if you touch it, the screen will show up and you'll have an option of upper, both, or lower, okay?
Uh-huh.
And some of you have on the dashboard where you actually have upper or lower right. Okay?
And another question. You're talking about the Virtuoso, and you said it had three sources: the golden harp,
Upper and lower right.
and those are the other two sources,
Correct.
right?
So whatever's programmed in the golden harp,
Mm-hmm.
or if you push upper, it's whatever sound you happen to be on in that upper keyboard, or whatever sound you happen to have in the lower right at that time. And if there's a harmony programmed in there, it'll also put the harmony in that Virtuoso.
Robert,
Yes.
what was the style you were using for summertime?
Oh, that was a style called light big band.
Oh, that was nice. Thank you.
Very pretty style. Sometimes I like to play it with, that was in a minor key. So if you do the major key, I like playing song like this. Very pretty. Isn't that pretty? Yeah, thank you. Yes, that's a great style. There's so many great styles on these instruments. I can go on and on and on. I can spend all day and still not have enough time. So, but I'm going to finish off with a number. I'll play a little song here. I want to say thank you. I hope you learned quite a few today. Just a couple little educational tips. So,
Lost your audio.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
My battery died.
Wow.
I've been using these rechargeable batteries since the start of the pandemic. So now I know they don't hold its charge as long anymore. This is how I used to do it when we first started. You remember? Before I used the headset? And I always have to do this and then set it down. And then when I wanted to talk while I played, I had to go like this. And so as
Robert, Robert,
yes,
is that organ available?
yes, Jerome, it's available. Don't worry, I didn't
I
forget.
was wondering.
I was getting ready to say that. Anyway, all right, can I take back over, Jerome?
Yes, please.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. So anyway, I'm going to finish up with one last song for you here. And there was one thing what I was getting ready to say was category setups. I didn't get into that today, just ran out of time. But some of these features that I mentioned today, a lot of them are automatically designed in the preset. So for example, we talked cascades, for example. There's actually a group of presets called cascades to get you started. Another feature that I wanted to talk about today was glide. I didn't get a chance to, and I'll do that in the next one. There's a lot of things you can do with the glide and how easy it is to use, make it easier for you. I know some of you use the touch bar. I know some of you obviously have the key glide on the keyboard. So when you touch and you hold the note, I won't go into detail right now, But if you, let's say, so it bends the note on the keyboard instead of having to use the foot switch. Well, there's a whole category preset. If you're not using it and you have it, I would suggest using it. It's called Key Glide. So, and it has from guitars, and it bends the note just by pressing a little harder on the keyboard, and you don't have to do a lot of pressing, just enough. Or for you Hawaiian lovers, you can, because a glide is one of those features that we use all the time, and students have such a hard time using them with the foot switches, keeping the volume straight and blasting yourself out. But if you have the key glide on, you got it right here on the keyboard. Or you got this. Woo! Oh, I almost want to go. I don't know. You don't have to do that. And there's a bunch of others in here. The saxophone. Anyway, so there's a category preset called, because a lot of times where do I use it when it, you can turn it on anytime you want. But if you turn on the category preset Key Glide, it does it for you automatically. So, anyway, there's all sorts of things that I'll touch on, gliding, using the foot switches, the touch bars, and a lot of the stuff some of our students know, but it's a good review on a lot of those features. And plus, there's a lot of new students getting into these features, so we'll get those on and we'll get them recorded and what have you. So I'm going to play a song here. I don't know what I'm going to play yet. I'm just going to go in my handy dandy book and find one. But I want to say thank you for all you do. And I don't know if you heard, but Jerome, I don't know if you heard the news, but this is actually a Grand Marquis that's available.
Oh.
Yeah, I know that surprises you. I do want to say that if you ever had a dream of owning a Grand Marquis, it is, along with the Aria, one of the most high in demand organs that we get, and even more so because there were only so many Grand Marquis ever made in the world. And I'll give you an idea. About 2 weeks ago, within a 7-day period, all of a sudden, I had 6 Grand Marquis available, like within a 5-day period. And a lot of it had to do with a certain model, trading in, what have you. And within 7 days, we had 6 organs, 6 Grand Marquis. Now we're down to 1 in each state. And just in less than a 7-day period, the 4 of the 6 got sold very quickly. And that's just how amazing. It's an amazing product. And it obviously, you saw and heard some of the things that today. This was just a little taste of some of the features. But we do have one in Arizona. Obviously, I'm in Arizona. And I believe there's only one in Florida. And they're becoming harder and harder and harder to get. Before that, it was almost about 2-3 months before we had an Aria Grand Marquis in the store. So if you ever thought to yourself, boy, that might be an instrument I'd love to have, I would strongly encourage you to get with a personal assistant, your personal assistant, find out, because I have authorized for the beginning of the year for our members and our folks that support us a very special opportunity depending on the trade that you have, because trades are hard to get, as you know. Grand Marquis are hard to get, and so are Lowrey Liberties, for example, and Sterlings and instruments like that. We don't just have warehouses full of them, and we do anymore. So but it is an amazing instrument, and I would highly encourage you. And if you're not sure who to contact, you get emails from me all the time. Just shoot me an email, and I'll have someone reach out to you and tell you kind of what we have offering. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one of my favorite styles on the instrument here. That's going to be tough now that I say that, because there's so many of my favorite styles on here. Oh, that might be fun to do. Let's see. That might be fun to do. That'll be fun to do. How about a nice style called, where did it go? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I thought I was getting a request. I do take requests. I just don't take them seriously, so we got to be careful. Okay, I'm going to feature a style here, just simply called, where did it go? Doo-wop. No, I like that one too, but I think I'll do, where did it go? I played swaying Latin earlier. It's called Got Swing, but most people play I've Got the World on a String. This is great because you can play it a couple other ways, and I'll use some of the features that you heard today, okay? And you can do it this way, which sounds like I've Got the World on a String. Okay, so you can do it that way, or if you want, oops, I put on the preset that I want here. Where did it go? Or let's see here. Or we can do it like this, do it in a Okay, so I forgot I don't have this microphone anymore. So we could do it like this or like that, and or we could do it like, we'll start off with I Got the Word on the String. Or like this. Okay, now I'm going to do the fake it on the bottom right and then play along. Have it play with me. Here we go. Thank you. Hold the applause. Hold the applause. Well, there you go. That is your, hopefully you had a great time today and you learned a thing or two. And again, we have one Grand Marquis available, so reach out to your PA. And if you already have one or something similar, there's never, you can always get two. I know some of you have one in each home, and if you have one in each home, remember, you might have another room that you'd need another organ, so you don't have to walk all the way across the house before you play. But with that said, I hope you enjoyed today's class and you learned something, a thing or two. If you walk out with one thing, that's great. If you got more than one, I'll do another one here in a few weeks, and then be prepared and check out the emails and what have you. So we'll talk to you soon. Stay safe. Happy New Year. Keep playing music, and mwah.
Robert,
Yes.
I have one question. You said the key was in the screen.
What's
Um,
that?